You can make $90,000 a year and feel completely broke, and you can make the exact same 90,000 and feel untouchable. Same paycheck, same direct deposit landing in the same bank account the same Friday. The difference comes down to one number that almost nobody can name out loud. Meet Rich Richard and Poor Peter. Same job, same company, same $90,000 salary, same gas station coffee on the way in. If you looked at their tax returns, you would think they were the same person. Then both their cars break down the same week. Same shop, same diagnosis, $1,400 each. Rich Richard taps his card, goes back to his phone, and moves on with his Tuesday. Doesn't flinch, doesn't check his balance, doesn't even think about it past the parking lot. Poor Peter reads the estimate 3 times. He feels his stomach drop. He opens his banking app and starts mentally rearranging which bills he can push to next month. He is already running the math on whether he can float half the repair on a credit card and still make rent. Same income, same bill. 2 completely different nervous systems reacting to the same Tuesday afternoon. And what separates Rich Richard from Poor Peter is not discipline. It is not luck, and it is definitely not the salary, because the salary is identical. It is a number neither of them ever talks about at dinner, or mentions at work, or even thinks about when they compare themselves to each other. Net worth. There are 3 specific points on that number line where your everyday experience of money quietly transforms, where life stops feeling like a treadmill and starts feeling like something you are actually steering. My name is Ivan, and I have spent years studying why 2 people with the same paycheck can end up living in completely different realities. If you've ever felt like you are earning good money and somehow still standing still, today we are mapping the 3 net worth levels where your entire relationship with money changes. And I will warn you now, the 3rd level does something to people that almost nobody sees coming. Plenty of folks reach it and are somehow still miserable. The research finally explains why. We will get there. But the 1st level is closer than you probably think. So let me set up the framing that makes all of this click. We are obsessed with income. How much do you make? What is the salary? What is the raise? We build our entire identity around this number. But income is just water flowing through your hands. Net worth is what is actually left in the bucket after the water passes through. And it turns out that bucket has 3 lines painted on the inside. 3 thresholds where, once you cross them, the water starts behaving differently. It starts working for you instead of just flowing past. Rich Richard had crossed the 1st line. Poor Peter had not. That is the entire story of the car repair. Nothing else about those 2 men was different. Level 1, $100,000. Escape velocity. Now, I know that number hits different depending on where you are sitting. For some of you, it feels impossibly far away, and for others, it sounds almost insultingly small. Stay with me, because this is the most important threshold in the entire video, and the math behind it is kind of beautiful once you see it. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's late business partner, a man who was worth billions by the end of his life, was once asked about building wealth. His answer has been repeated endlessly for a reason. He said, and I am cleaning this up slightly for YouTube, the first 100,000 is brutal, but you have to do it. I do not care what you have to do. Find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit. Now, why would a billionaire fixate on a number that represented a rounding error in his own portfolio? Because the first 100,000 is the only stretch of the entire wealth journey where you are doing basically all the work by yourself. Let me show you, because this is where it gets interesting. Say you are saving and investing $10,000 a year, earning a 7% average return. Getting from 0 to your first 100,000 takes you roughly 8 years. And during those 8 years, the market is barely lifting a finger. Almost every dollar in that account is a dollar you personally earned, saved, and decided not to spend. It is a grind. It feels slow because it is slow. But watch what happens after you cross that line. Going from 100,000 to 200,000 does not take another 8 years. It takes about 5. Your money is starting to pitch in. From 200 to 300,000 under 4 years. And here's the part that should make you sit up a little straighter. Going from 500,000 to a full million takes about 8 years. The same amount of time it took you to scrape together that very first 100,000. Except now you are generating 10 times the wealth in that same window because compounding has fully kicked in. Same patience. Same boring consistency. Wildly different output. Why? Because somewhere in that, Climb Your Money quietly clocked in for its first shift. At $100,000 invested at 7%, your portfolio generates about $7,000 a year on its own. That is nearly a full year of maxed out IRA contributions, earned by money you already had while you were sleeping, commuting, watching a movie, doing literally anything other than working. You spent 8 years pushing a snowball uphill, and at $100,000, that snowball crests the top and starts rolling down the other side under its own weight. Every year after that, it picks up more snow, rolls a little faster, and requires a little less effort from you. The curve bends in your favor, and it never bends back. But the real magic of $100,000 is not the math. It is what it does to your brain. There is a study published in Science in 2013 that I think about constantly. A team of researchers led by Sendhil Mullainathan set up shop in a New Jersey mall and pulled aside regular shoppers. They asked them to imagine a car repair, exactly the kind of situation Rich Richard and Poor Peter just walked through. Half the shoppers imagined a small repair, about $150. The other half imagined a large one, $1,500. Then everyone took a standard cognitive test, the kind that measures raw problem-solving ability, pattern recognition, logical sequencing, the foundational stuff your brain uses for every decision you make all day. The wealthier shoppers showed no difference between the two groups. Small repair, big repair, their brains performed identically. But the lower income shoppers, who had to think about the $1,500 bill, scored dramatically worse. About 13 to 14 IQ points lower, which the researchers compared to the cognitive impact of losing an entire night of sleep. Same people, same brains. The only thing that changed was that they spent 30 seconds worrying about money they did not have. Think about what that means. Picture going through your entire life, every conversation, every parenting moment, every decision at work, every shot at a promotion, while operating a little bit impaired. Not because you are less capable, but because some corner of your mind is permanently running a background calculation about whether you can cover the next surprise expense. That is Poor Peter in the parking lot. His brain is not worse than Rich Richard's. It is just taxed. It is carrying weight that Rich Richard's brain does not have to carry, and it has been carrying it so long that Poor Peter probably does not even notice the drag anymore. And this is not rare. The Federal Reserve's 2025 survey found that only 63% of American adults could handle a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. That means roughly 37% of adults in the wealthiest country on earth would have to borrow money, sell something, or simply could not cover a bill smaller than a decent pair of shoes. And according to Bankrate's 2025 data, about 53% of Americans could not fully cover a $1,000 emergency from savings alone. That is not a discipline problem. That is a cushion problem. $100,000 buys you out of that cognitive fog. Not into luxury, not into a flashy lifestyle, into quiet. Into a brain that is not constantly humming with low-grade financial static every time the check engine light comes on or the furnace makes a weird noise. That is why this is level 1. It is not about getting rich. It is about getting your mind back. Quick honesty check before we climb higher. And be real with yourself here. Because the next 2 levels only matter once you have nailed this one. Are you below this line, sitting right on it, or already past it? Hold that answer in your head. It will change how you hear everything that comes next. Level 2, $500,000 to $1 million when your money gets a job. So you have hit escape velocity. The static is gone. Your emergency fund is not a source of anxiety anymore. Now what? Now you enter the strangest and most psychologically interesting stretch of the whole journey. The climb from $500,000 to $1 million. And the reason it is strange is that for the first time in your life, the most productive worker in your household might not be a person. Let me go back to the math because it tells the whole story. At $500,000 invested, a 7% return generates roughly $35,000 a year. Sit with that for a second. $35,000 appearing annually, produced by nothing but money you already accumulated. For context, that is close to what the median American worker earns from a full-time job after taxes. Your portfolio is now pulling a respectable second income, and it does not call in sick. It does not ask for a raise. It does not have a bad Monday. And at a full million, that same 7% kicks off about $70,000 a year. That is more than what the typical American individual earns annually. Read that again. At $1 million invested, your money is out earning a full-time salary. And it does it while you sleep, while you are on vacation, while you are doing literally anything else with your day. This is the level where the phrase work optional stops being a fantasy you see in some guru's ad next to a rented Lamborghini and starts being something you can actually see on the horizon. You are not there yet, but you can see it from where you are standing. And seeing it changes how you carry yourself in ways you do not expect. Here is how level 2 feels in real life. It is the meeting where your boss says something unreasonable, something that would have made the old version of you clench your jaw and swallow it. And instead of swallowing it, you realize calmly, almost surprised by yourself, that you could walk. You will not today, but you could. That single internal shift, knowing you have a genuine choice, quietly rewires how you negotiate, what you tolerate, and how much of your self-respect you are willing to trade for a paycheck. And that rewiring does not stay in the conference room. It follows you everywhere. It changes how you talk to the mechanic, how you handle the contractor who wants to tack on extra charges, how you respond when someone tries to pressure you into a decision you are not ready to make. There is a steadiness that shows up when you know you are not operating from desperation. You stop saying yes out of fear and start saying yes out of actual agreement. That difference is invisible to everyone around you, but you feel it in every conversation. It also shows up in smaller, almost invisible ways. It is not checking the price of every single item before it goes in the grocery cart. It is booking the direct flight instead of the one with 2 layovers to save $60. It is the dishwasher dying and the entire crisis lasting about 4 minutes. You look up a replacement, you buy it, you move on. None of these are luxuries. They are just friction being quietly removed from your week, one decision at a time. And the strange thing is that almost nobody at this level even notices it has happened. They just slowly stop bracing for impact. The flinch reflex that has been running in the background for decades gradually goes quiet, and they mistake that quiet for normal instead of recognizing it as the single greatest upgrade to their quality of life they have ever experienced. They finally stop white-knuckling every week. Now, real talk. This level is rarer than you might think. About 21% of US households have a net worth of $1 million or more. And according to the latest data, the threshold for the top 10% of all American households by net worth now sits closer to 1.8 million. So if you cross $1 million, you are not just doing okay. You are in the top 5th of the entire country. If you are finding this helpful, hit subscribe. I cover personal finance and wealth psychology every week, and the stuff we are about to get into next is the part I find most fascinating. The problem is that crossing $1 million rarely feels the way you would expect, and there is a very specific reason for that, which brings me to the trap hiding inside level 2. The trap is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent killer of this entire stage. Every time your income goes up, there is a gravitational pull to let your spending drift up, right behind it. Researchers have studied this pattern extensively, and they call it hedonic adaptation. You get the raise, you get the nicer car, and within about 12 months, the nicer car just feels like your car. The thrill evaporates completely, but the payment stays. So you upgrade again, chasing a feeling that keeps resetting to zero no matter how much you spend. This is how people earning $300,000 a year end up broke. Their money never gets the chance to take that second job because every dollar gets drafted into a bigger mortgage, a leased luxury SUV, and a lifestyle that quietly eats the future to feed the present. They are earning like Rich Richard and spending like Poor Peter on steroids. Level 2 is not really about earning more. Never has been. It is about having the nerve to let the gap between what you make and what you spend stay open long enough for compounding to walk through it. That gap is the entire game. Everything else is decoration. So notice the pattern forming here. Level 1 did not add a luxury to your life. It subtracted a fear. The fear of the emergency. Level 2 subtracts another one. The fear of being trapped by a single employer, a single income, a single source of security. Each level you climb is not about adding stuff. It is about removing weight. Keep that in mind because level 3 removes the heaviest weight of all, and it is the one almost nobody is truly prepared for. Level 3, $2.5 million to $5 million, buying back your time. There is a scene in a movie called The Gambler where John Goodman, playing the human embodiment of a man who is permanently done doing anything he does not want to do, lays out his entire philosophy of money in about 90 seconds. He says the goal is not to be rich. The goal is to hit a specific number, put it somewhere safe, and reach what he calls a position where no person, no boss, no bank, and no landlord can make you do anything you do not want to do. His number was 2.5 million. And here is what is interesting. That was not just movie dialogue. That number is almost mathematically perfect. And it is built on one of the most tested ideas in all of personal finance. It is called the 4% rule. It comes from a landmark study called the Trinity Study, where researchers tested decades of market history to answer one specific question. How much can you withdraw from an investment portfolio every year without ever running out of money over a 30-year retirement? The answer they kept landing on was around 4%, which gives us a beautifully simple formula. Whatever your life costs per year, multiply it by 25. That is your number. The point where your investments can fund your existence essentially forever. So let me run a few scenarios. If your annual spending is $40,000, your number is 1 million. If you spend $80,000, it is 2 million. And if you want to live on $100,000 a year without ever working another day in your life, you need about $2.5 million invested. That is Goodman's number. The screenwriter did the math. Push it up to 5 million, and you can sustain a $175,000 to $200,000 lifestyle off the returns alone. At that level, you are in the top 4% of all US households. Out of roughly 135 million households in this country, only about 5.5 million have crossed the 5 million mark. This is rare air by any measure, and I will be honest with you, this is the level where I see people get things the most wrong, because the math finally works. The spreadsheet says they are free, and they assume the meaning will just show up automatically, like a package they ordered that is finally arriving. It does not work that way. They think level 3 is about the stuff. The bigger house, the boat that sits in the marina 11 months a year, the watch that costs more than some people's cars. But it is not about any of that. Because by the time you reach this altitude, the research says something almost cruel is waiting for a lot of people. Here is the uncomfortable truth about money and happiness. For years, the study everyone quoted was the 2010 paper from Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton at Princeton. They found that emotional well-being rose with income, but then flattened out at around $75,000 a year, which is roughly $100,000 in today's money after adjusting for inflation. The takeaway everyone ran with was simple. Past that point, more money just stops moving the needle on how happy you actually feel day to day. Then a researcher named Matthew Killingsworth at the University of Pennsylvania came along in 2021. He tracked over 1 million real-time mood reports from tens of thousands of people using a smartphone app that pinged them randomly throughout their day. And he found that Kahneman's ceiling was wrong. Happiness kept climbing right along with income, with no plateau in sight. So who was right? Here is the answer I promised you at the beginning, and it is the most useful idea in this entire video. The two researchers actually got in a room together, along with a mediator named Barbara Mellers, and worked it out in a paper published in 2023 in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. What they found was this. For the majority of people, roughly the 70% who are already reasonably content with their lives, more money really does keep buying more happiness all the way up. There is no ceiling for them. But for the unhappiest group, roughly the bottom 30%, money relieves their suffering up to about $100,000 a year, and then it just stops. It flatlines. Because their unhappiness was never really about money in the first place. It was about health, relationships, purpose, identity, something that no bank account can fix. And no amount of net worth is going to buy your way out of a problem that money did not cause. That is the secret hiding inside level 3. The people who get here and stay miserable are the ones who thought the number itself was the destination. They spent 20 years climbing toward a balance and assumed that reaching it would fill in whatever was hollow. It does not. The number cannot do that work. The people who get here and actually feel different, the ones who report genuine life satisfaction at this level, are the ones who use the number to buy the only thing money can actually purchase that matters long term. Control over their own time. Waking up without an alarm. Saying yes to the people they love and no to the projects that drain them. Being there for the Tuesday afternoon soccer game instead of hearing about it secondhand. Spending a Wednesday morning reading. Not because it is a vacation day, but because Wednesday morning belongs to them now. Taking a phone call from an old friend at 2 in the afternoon on a Thursday without glancing at a calendar or feeling guilty about productivity. Level 1 bought back a quiet mind. Level 2 bought back options. Level 3 buys back your one finite non-renewable resource, the actual hours of your life, from anyone who used to own them. That is the whole game. That is what is really on the other side of that number. Not a yacht, not a mansion, just your own time returned to you. Now, if you are sitting there thinking, Ivan, I am not even at level 1 yet. This is depressing. Stop. I need you to hear this part clearly. The fact that these levels are rare is not a reason to feel behind. It is the entire reason they are worth pursuing. Almost 40% of this country cannot handle a $400 emergency without borrowing. The bar to feel noticeably different in your daily life is not infinite wealth. It is a cushion, then a choice, then your time back. That is the entire ladder, 3 rungs. And the most encouraging part is the thing we started with. The hardest, slowest, most thankless stretch of this whole journey is the climb to that first 100,000. The part where you are doing all the work and the market is barely helping. Almost everyone who gives up on building wealth gives up right there, in the grind, right before the snowball crests the hill and starts working in their favor. If you can just outlast the boring part, the math flips. It stops working against you and starts working for you. Not because you got smarter or luckier or found some shortcut, because you just refused to quit during the stretch where quitting felt the most rational. Here is the reframe I want to leave you with. We have been trained our whole lives to measure ourselves by income. The number on the paycheck, the title in the email signature, the salary we would reluctantly admit to at a dinner party if someone pushed hard enough. But income is just the speed of the water. Net worth is the size of the bucket. Rich Richard and Poor Peter are 2 men with identical $90,000 salaries, living in completely different realities. The only thing that ever separated them was which line in the bucket they had quietly crossed. Rich Richard was not richer on payday. He was just further along the number line. And that distance, invisible on a pay stub, visible in every single moment of stress or calm that follows, is the only distance that ever mattered. You do not reach level 3 by accident. And you do not reach level 1 overnight, but you get there one boring, unglamorous, automated contribution at a time. One no to the upgrade you do not need. 1 month of letting the gap stay open when everything in the culture is screaming at you to close it. 1 year of choosing the quiet path when the loud one looks so much more fun from the outside. So pick your level, not the fantasy one. The next one. The one that is actually within reach from wherever you are standing today. Because 10 years from now, that money is either going to be quietly working for you the way it works for Rich Richard, or you are going to be working around the absence of it the way Poor Peter does, wondering why $90,000 a year still does not feel like enough. I am not a financial advisor, and none of this is financial advice. Just patterns I have watched play out with real numbers behind them.